before I drove my own car, Mike Daignault and Earl Passmore owned a car. Big Mike ran a Spirit of 76 car.
Brian would hang around once in a while. And one day we were talking about driving.
And they were all having coffee one day, and they had some conversation that put Brian in the car. And Mike says, I'll put him in the car. I was just some little pit crew kid.
That if I let him drive his car, he would go as fast as I could go. So there was a bunch of people standing around. So a couple of people bet him. I think Al Gaudreau might have been in on that.
And Al Gaudreau said, oh, you'll scare the pants off him. He'll be having to change his clothes when he comes back in the pits. And the rule was Mike had to go around as fast as he could. And whatever he got in a stopwatch, I had to be within 1 second.
Like I was going maybe, I don't know, maybe a 19 second or I was going 20 and he had to go 21 or whatever it was. He went out in the warm-ups and on the third lap he did it.
And I'm like, no. I said, I know I could have went faster. They're like, you were within the time. So I was 0.3 of a second off his fastest time he ever turned in his life. And I never drove a race car, so it just came natural to me. It was like easy.
Brian was different. He always had the attitude that he could do more than everybody else. He was the character. But he was always good looking. He was young. One of his favorite saying, what is it? I'm jello and I'm hard to hold on to. You could grab me, but you couldn't hold on to me. And it was more pointed towards the girls.
Ladies' man. I mean, he'd get up in the morning and go to breakfast with his fire suit on.
Him and his fire suit, I think they might have something going there.
He was really good. He was really fast. Brian was accused a lot of being a dirty driver. He really wasn't. Brian was a pest.
I would terrorize you. You didn't want me around, but I wouldn't wreck you. I didn't spin people out to win a race. I didn't try to turn them around. I would lean against you. I was brutal. I'd be anywhere but where you wanted me to be, and it worked for me. But I wouldn't dump you or spin you out in the last lap or something. We'd trade paint though. A lot.
He had a completely different driving style than everybody else had. He used to go sideways through the turns.
Brian sideways.
Sideways Brian.
Sideways through the corners.
He was more sideways than straight. He didn't know how to drive straight.
Brian was one of those guys that you either loved him or you hated him. I think everybody kind of concentrated on Brian back then. It was kind of a given that that's who you had to beat.
He was, I almost want to say, an insane racer. I really enjoyed seeing McCarthy race.
He knew there was a show. Spin that tire coming around the turn. And I'd be thinking, isn't that burning your tire out? But he knew people were looking, almost waving out the window every lap. So he knew he was a star.
With his white gloves on, that's right. That's right.
He invented the Tokyo Drift. He just didn't know it. And if anybody could have explained to him what bite was, he'd have won 180 more races.
Brian McCarthy had a little secret because he was always loose rear, right? And that right rear was smoking. As soon as they'd have a caution, he'd drive down in the grass. And by the time they ran at night, the grass was wet and dewy, and it cooled them tires off and it made it hot as a rock. And he'd go back out there. Well, when they finally realized what he was doing, they told me he couldn't do that anymore.
I don't think Brian needed a championship to be regarded as a force in that division.
I was more after the wins. I've never been a points runner. I gave up after that. I gave up trying to be track champion. I just went for wins. The wins paid more money. That year I wasn't out for points either. However the points fell at the end of the year, they fell. Just give me the steering wheel. I'm going to the front one way or another. I'm going to the front. And I'm not going to wreck somebody to do it. I may terrorize you, but I'm not going to wreck you.
He's a showman. He understands how important it is for those fans to feel like they got their money's worth. And he also did drive sideways all the time.
And I think that driving style probably bit him, later on in his career. But, with the late models when he was running, it didn't hurt you.
one of the guys that just really, I think, put the fannies in the seats at the Speedbowl every week.
Speedbowl was good to me. You know, I enjoyed it.
Whatever he got in was entertainment. McCarthy really knew how to put on a show. He just loved to race. You could tell by the style that he raced at. Just burning off the right rear, you know, all that smoke and everything. Yeah, he was a blast.
Brian was worth the price of admission by himself. He really was.